a secret. I know you like to keep it clean. No prying eyes to keep you honest. What do you hide when you hide with me? If you think you're clever, then you've never weathered anyone like me. I've been training all my life. Guess your numbers are bright, 'cause when she calls mine, I'm not gonna lie. Those pretty eyes, are you scared now? You can't erase all the things you've seen. Do you like my shells and all my monsters? Now you're my latest favorite thing. Do you wanna play, misbehave, say the ways you plan to hurt me, abuse and drain me dry? Now you wanna know if you'll make it out alive. Nah, I'm not gonna lie. Waking up with you for the 1000th time, sipping coffee and juice, reading the New York Times. Yeah, you told me I'm the only one, but now you think you've had your fun. You hope I had a good time. Goodbye, we're done. I got you inside my head, playing every moment over and over again. I thought we'd survive instead. You're a heartbreaker and I'm heartbroken. Waking up with him before the sun. We pour coffee and then read the Chicago Sun. Yeah. He tells me that I've changed his life, and now he wants me as his wife. Well, we had a good run, was fun. Goodbye. I still got you inside my head, playing every moment over and over again. I thought we'd survive instead. You're making heartbreakers of the heartbroken. You're making heartbreakers of the heartbroken.
Good evening, everyone.
He was a good man. I should have warned him. I should have warned him that I'm an imposter.
Such a good song.
Does it feel siring? So many monsters. Inside my head, playing every moment over and
opening as I like to do it, some Joliet 4. That was Heartbreaker. Such a fantastic song. Such a talented singer, songwriter. You can find her, actually, most of her socials, including on Twitch. She's Joliet 4. I highly encourage you to check her out. She's doing a lot of stuff where she's producing, writing songs. Now with a friend. So, the first album was pretty much solo stuff. But she started a new 2-person group with Tyler Levs, and they've been doing a lot of collaborations. Her streams are a lot of fun. It tends to be a bit of a hot mess. Not unlike what we have going on here. Anyway, I am your friendly neighborhood Phantom NJ, also known as Rob, and welcome to TTRPG Theater, where tonight we will be discussing, that's interesting. It did not change stream elements. What are you doing to me? Well, all right. Maybe it'll finally figure out that I wanted the stream information to be changed. We'll see what happens. I can always change out on YouTube later. That's fine. Not a big deal. It is not about character death. It is about what do you need to play Castles and Crusades. And for those of you who are familiar with Castles Crusades, this technically could be a really, really short discussion. I am Devine Tracy. Good to see you. Hey, Dirty Dwarf. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. So, yeah, what do you need to play Castles and Crusades? And again, this could be a really, really short discussion. And well, let's get things out of the way first. Yes, like every other TTRPG, yes, you need players. You need some method of playing, whether it be in person, at a table. Imagination is a good thing, yeah. Dice of some sort. It could be physical dice, digital dice, whatever. I'm listening, whatever works for you. I don't care. I'm not that picky. If it's up to me, I want to use physical dice, even if I'm using a VTT, because I don't trust VT, the randomization. And not only that, let's talk about the little, what seems to be the elephant in the room with regards to digital dice, specifically VTT dice. I first noticed it in Foundry, and then I started noticing it happening in, later now in Fantasy Grounds. This really annoying implementation where it looks like it's going to be on a 19 or a 20 or something high, and then suddenly at the last second goes to like a 6. And it happens entirely too often for it to be, a random occurrence. It's basically like the dice. I don't know. Somebody thought they were being funny, and then somebody thought this was a great idea. We're going to pick up on it and do it, because all it does is make me hate digital dice that much more. Now, it'd be one thing if I just rolled a 6, fine, whatever. And that's the thing, is it just doing that, it already knows the number already generated, and it's just deciding to have, somebody thought it would be really cute to have some fun with that. And if so, screw you, whoever that is. May you ever roll ones in, may you get to play in one of my games and roll ones forever. But that's enough of that. So, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. More magic in the physical die. Hey, listen, I am all with you there. Trollard Games, thank you so much for the raid. We've, 47 viewers. Great to see you all. For those of you who are coming over from Trollard Games, yeah, this again, I mentioned it before. This could really technically be a very short conversation. We're talking about what do you need to play Castles and Crusades. And you know something? While we're doing that, let me, I would be remiss. I would be really remiss if I did not set up a raffle for the stream, because I almost forgot that this channel is now sponsored by Trollard Games, makers of Castles and Crusades, makers of Amazing Adventures, new printing coming out soon. Trademark, sometime soon, and currently in progress. Thank you so much for Wasteful Days and Pineapple Pizza Juice for the follows, as well as now handling new printings of the various collected works of Gary Gygax, items that they initially were going to be doing. Oh God, it is 16 years ago now. But watch for the Kickstarters. They're coming out. The Hermit is already in progress, and I think the Fantasy Worlds stuff is the next stuff thing to be coming. Just keep an eye out for the Troller Games Kickstarters because it's going to be fantastic. There's more Castles of Gig stuff coming, and there is so much TLG content coming in the next year and a half or so. Personally, I'm waiting. I'm waiting somewhat impatiently because I want it so badly. But the Free City of Altamira collaboration with Jay Scott of the Lord Gazumba himself, and that is going to be a fantastic supplement. I can't wait for it. But we've got some time before that happens. So, all right, let's see. Timers. All right. Well, actually, let me get the giveaway going first. This is going to be all right, and let's do this. Oh, wait, we only want one per person. 0. And create and start. All right. And it would help if I actually turned the timer on. That would be great. This is, you can tell that this is a really, really high class, professional thing that we're doing here. Just work with me. You could always buy the white box set. That is a fantastic idea. The white box set. I have the white box set, and I'm not gonna lie, I have actually yet to look at it. Is that not working yet? Do I need to do something? No, it is not. Why is that not working? All right, hold on. Back to giveaways page. That should be 1. That should be 0. Do me a favor, try the raffle thing. All right, maybe it's ticket. Huh. Try thing ticket. I thought raffle should have worked, but there we go. Ticket works. One of these, and it's funny because I apologize because Stream Elements does not tell me what it's supposed to be for, what's supposed to work. And of course, I should look at my timer. My timer even does say, yeah, it is ticket for the giveaway. All right. Brack, you are not wrong. I have to say though, have you actually checked out the Fantasy Grounds Unity as far for the VTT? Because the CNC client, CNC stuff that's there is pretty good. We use it for the Sunday game that I'm in, and I know that others use it as well. I won't lie. I am not the biggest fan of Fantasy Grounds, but it for CNC it does work well. Oh yeah. Well, okay. No, you're not wrong there. So the Sunday game is 11 o'clock. Hi, Taryn. Good to see you. So the Sunday game is at 11 o'clock Eastern Time on the Troller Games Twitch stream. It is run by Jingo, and we actually have a new player as of this week. George, good to see you. Yes. Ship of Fools. There's Jingo. That is you, right, Jingo? I'm not losing my mind. I'm so used to people having, yeah, there we go. I always get confused when people have different handles for Discord versus their name on Twitch. In that game, I am playing an illusionist, which is a hell of a lot of fun. Illusionists, in terms of illusionists go, I know that everybody says, well, the low levels, you only have four, D4 for a hit die, and as far as like armor issues or lack of any armor whatsoever. But I am having great fun. Jingo can tell you the fun stuff that I'm doing with my illusionist on that game. Having a great time, basically controlling the battlefield, honestly. Chris, yes, I will be at GaryCon. Actually, I am going to be at both Founders and Legends and GaryCon. I am there the entire week. I have 3 sessions that I'm running in the morning, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. As of last check, all three games were sold out. I think I actually have a waiting list on some of them. So let's get to the topic at hand. Now, what do you need to play CNC? We talked about the very obvious, and touched on very obvious briefly. You need players, you need dice of some sort, digital or physical, and some place to play it, either in person or through VTT. Now, one of the nice things about CNC, which most of you probably already know, is, VTTs, one of the big things with VTTs is the ability to have automation. And there are some games where you really kind of need that automation. I would argue a game like Pathfinder 2E lends very well to having automation, because there is a hell of a lot of number crunching that goes on between all the different things. CNC, not so much. I mean, it's, you're really back to basics. Is it nice to be able to target and, have it automatically keep track of, hits and misses or whatever? But to be honest with you, if you just use something for mapping tool, for a long time, I've been using Owlbear Rodeo, because all I want is for, those players who are not, there's some people who can do well with theater of the mind, and some just can't, some people just really can't visualize and keep track of where things are without a physical reference point. And I understand that. I mean, that's fine. And you can treat it no differently than having a battle mat sitting on a table and tokens, so people can tell where everything is. So beyond that, in terms of like source material, and we're going to go and we're going to change up the screen a little. You've already hit it on the head with the first one. Hey, and that's fine, Dirty Dwarf. I mean, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Really, as a player, the only book you absolutely need is this one. You don't need anything else. It is the core rules. It's basically all of the core rules. This is everything in here. These are the rules. If you go by rules as written, what's here is what the rules are as written. And this is one of the really, really wonderful, fantastic things about CNC. And it's kind of one of the reasons why they've been capable of technically only having one edition that's lasted 20 years now. We can talk about that. That's the, Dirty Dwarf, I did have, I did get your, we talked about the topic that you had recommended. I think I want to do that next week. I just wasn't quite ready to do that today, where we can talk about the min-maxing and, what it means when when you don't have many choices on paper and such. So, but yeah, no, I do get what you're going for there. Because in the player's handbook, you have, let's face it, you have your base character races, your character classes, all your combat rules. Really, as a player, it's all there. Whatever you need is there. So, okay, but the thing is, CNC has quite an extensive catalog. It's like, well, what's everything else for? And here's again where the beauty of it is. Everything else is optional. There is, anything that is not in the player's handbook is to be considered optional at the castle keeper's discretion. Obviously, the castle keeper and the player should talk about things in case there are things that interest the players and they might like to see, and figure out what works for the table. But I did mention this could be technically a very short conversation in that all you really, really absolutely need is the player's handbook. And now with the latest printings, the player's handbooks, where it used to be that they went to level 12. Now we go into the higher level progression, where you can go all the way up to, I believe it's level 20. Level 24. I would be fascinated to see a CNC game run at level 24. That's one of those things I might have to do a one shot of some type. That's an interesting question, Dirty Dwarf. The highest level game that I've run so far, I think the characters in Friday Night Crusades at one point had gotten up to level 8. I haven't had many campaigns of any sort get to really high levels. Just because honestly, players kind of get bored. They want to play. When I say bored, they tend to want to play something new or try something new. Also, I envy the hell out of those people who've kept the same players for, regular players for years and years. I've got friends that I played with on and off for 30 years, but, there's been gaps, and in those gaps, they've decided that they want to play a different campaign. They want to play in a different setting. They want to move to the new rule set, for D&D, and, so it constantly changed. I'm not gonna lie. When you say it takes 10 years to get to 7 to 8, 10 years, how often though? Okay, bi-weekly. I gotta tell you that's a slower progression than I normally go for, but hey, cool. If the players are engaged and such, that's fantastic. Because that really is that whole period from the probably level 3 or so, when they're not worried that the first orc they see is going to kill them, up to about level 8 or so. I think like level 3 to level 8 is probably the sweet spot. They've got some power, but it's not ridiculous. Of course, the only problem is there's some creatures that you want to see them eventually fight that are still going to be way out of their league. Dragons of a certain age are still going to wipe the floor with them the first time they breathe. It's even saving throws are not necessarily going to save them from that. But I mean, hell, there's so many opportunities in that period. It's really cool. But yeah, I mean, everything that you need, is in the player's handbook as a player. Now, obviously, if you're going to be a castle keeper, you do have to be prepped for a dragon. I mean, you have to be prepped for a dragon fight regardless, because of the fact that this isn't this isn't a high. The dragon's breath alone is going to cause problems, and you have to have a plan for that, and you have to figure out. Normally, you have to figure out how you're going to survive the dragon breath, and you're going to want to look like for some kind of coverage. Whether if you randomly happen upon a dragon, you do not want to fight the dragon. You just don't. You need to be basically. You almost have to be hunting the dragon and doing the necessary prep work in order to survive that fight, because otherwise you are in some serious trouble. Now, as a castle keeper, obviously there's one more book that you're going to want to add on to this, and that's Monsters and Treasure. Has all your standard monsters of various types, all the thing that you could want to throw at your players. Also has the various treasure tables. Everything that you need in order, basically, as a between the Player's Handbook and the Monsters and Treasures. If those were the only two books you had, you could play CNC from now and till the cows come home. You'd be fine. But obviously there are other books, and I want to talk a little bit about the things that you might want to add. Introduce as a CK, things that are useful. Let's talk a bit about the Castle Keeper's Guide. As somebody who started off playing AD&D first edition, 40 something years ago, for mostly because of the fact that I didn't really have, I was introduced to the game by my cousin. It wasn't really explained to me which book that I needed first. So the first book I ended up buying was the Dungeon Master's Guide. And given that for a long time, it would be just me and my brother playing. And I would have characters that I was running while I had his character, whatever characters he wanted going. I had a lot of time to read the Dungeon Master's Guide. And the Dungeon Master's Guide in first edition was not an optional book. You needed the Dungeon Master's Guide. The CK Guide it's very helpful. If you're new to running a game, there's lots of interesting info. But lots of cool stuff that to help you learn. Where My Leaf, thank you so much for the Prime subscription. I really appreciate it. And welcome. We are talking about, the things that you need for playing Castles Crusades. Now, where the Castle Keeper's Guide is concerned, one of the things that it is also fantastic for is alternate rules. Things that you might want to change if they're, if you want to add elements to the CNC game, whether it's because you feel that one of the basic rules doesn't work for you, or one of those, the standard rules doesn't work for you, or there is something that you saw in another game and you want to find something similar to use in CNC. There is all kinds of great stuff. Things like different ways of using magic. Magic in CNC, the base magic in CNC for Wizards and Illusionists is Vancian. It is fire and forget. You memorize the spell as often as you can up to the in each individual spell. Once you cast it, it is gone for your memory unless you've technically memorized it once again. I have a different interpretation of what that means. For me, it's the idea that you're not memorizing something twice, because that makes absolutely no sense. For me, it is the idea that you are prepping the spell components more than once, and you are making sure that, you have them close at hand, because you can't have, not like you're reaching into your pouch and, rummaging around. You have to have your spell components, especially the physical components, close at hand. So yeah, I mean, there's the optional mana rules. There's spell slots, which for those of you who have, played 5th edition or Pathfinder or such, you're familiar with, where, you basically can cast a certain number of spells at a certain level per day, and, you can cast whatever it is you have, whichever spells you have for that particular level. There are different options of that effect. There's additional information with regards to equipment, and, how you can role play the use of equipment, carrying capabilities. Again, these are all things. It's basically, how crunchy do you want your game to be? How detailed, how much do you want to play it fast and loose versus, how exacting do you want it to be, and how hardcore down to the numbers. And there's a fine line between going overboard with them, versus, sometimes you just need a number that kind of makes sense. Hero Zone, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it. Actually, and you beat me to it, Dirty Dwarf, advantages. Advantages in Castles Crusades are what you would probably call feats elsewhere. They are not the 5e, rolling 2d20, 2 20-sided die and taking the better one. Advantages in CNC are a very different thing. There are, advantages can be, they're supplied at depending on what your class. They're not OP superpowers. Absolutely, very true. You get them at certain levels. And again, it's an optional rule set. It's not something that you have to have. It is up to the Castle Keeper's discretion. One of the, and I've gotten into it with people about this, but one of the advantages I really like is for spellcasters, specifically wizards and illusionists. They have an advantage called Apprentice Bolt. And it is a ranged touch attack, which does 1d2 damage, and then an additional 1 point of damage for every 2 levels. And basically, it's an unlimited attack. And frankly, as a low-level spellcaster, there is nothing worse than when you run out of spells and there's nothing for you to do. It's fine if you know that you're only going to have one or 2 encounters a day. And really at level levels, if you know you're only going to have really 1 encounter a day, that's great. But not having anything to do sucks. You're sitting with a class that has like no hit points, no armor. I've heard the argument, well, give them darts. Okay, let me ask you a question. How many, what if you're playing a wizard or an illusionist, what's your dump stat? What's one of your dump stats likely to be? I'm gonna take a rough guess and say strength is probably one. And if you're playing in a game where, you're playing one of the more punitive role, as far as ability rollings, I normally do 46, drop the lowest and reroll 1s. But if you're doing something like 3d6, even if you're not doing them in line, you're doing 3d6 and in range, whatever you want, you're gonna have a low score, something that's at a negative. So, doing that and then having to, either throw darts or either, 3d6, sure. And it's fine. Well, yeah, but at least you're allowing them to range. There are people who are 3d6 hardcore. Yeah, they do the old fashioned, basic D&D 3d6 down the line. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, if that's the way you want to play it, that's fine. It's not for me, but whatever. I'm not going to yuck someone else's yum, as long as you're not adamant that it's the one true way. I mean, you want to joke about it, fine, but there are people who get really bent out of shape at the idea that there's any other way to do it. You're gonna have you're gonna have a thing with negative stats. My illusionist has a strength of 7. Her strength is a -1 of -1 modifier. I throw a dart. There's a good chance that I could hit and still do no damage. It's like, what the hell? Why would I want to get anywhere close to something and throw a dart? I mean, or try to make a physical attack where most likely all that's going to do is get me killed. Thankfully, in Jingo's game, we do have advantages, and I did take Apprentice Bolt, which is really nice, because it does give me something to do. Especially with the spells that I have, a lot of spells that I have are also area of effect, and sometimes they're not, I have to make sure that I'm not going to hit my own people with them. So sometimes I need to do something else, and being able to have something I can just toss out and hit, do a couple points of damage, nothing big. It's not going to be a big damage dealer. And unlike, some games where the cantrips get a little out of hand, this never really does. I think I'm 4th level now, and so, my Apprentice Bolt does 1d2 plus 2. So at most I can do 4 points of damage. Like, all right. I mean, it's fine. And it just feels better. It feels, for me, for a caster, it feels more natural than asking a caster to carry around a full set of daggers to throw or a bunch of darts. It just, that never made a hell of a lot of sense to me, to be honest. Even back in the old days, I was never a big fan. So yeah, I mean, advantages, there are other, let me see if I can find the advantages section. But there are definitely other cool ones. That's pretty cool. That's all in all, that's actually even a bit more generous than my approach to it, but hell, what, I mean, I'm in favor of heroic characters, characters being of a bit more heroic than the standard person. So listen, I'm all for it. And the thing is, the other thing with CNC is the fact that stats are really not, in terms of the bonuses and such, they're not nearly as important in CNC as they are in other games, flat out. Especially once you get a few levels behind you, because your prime ability score, whatever your primary scores are, is going to be a hell of a lot more important than your stat bonuses in most cases. Yeah, and that's true, Jingo. If you're having fun and your table's having fun, great. Yes, they are static. I mean, there are magical items that still, and this goes back to the AD&D games. There's still magical items that can raise your various stats, but you're in the sense that no, you're not going to be upgrading your stats as you're going along. So I have a question. I'm going to type it out. I did some rearranging to try to minimize the impact of ads, and I'd like to know, for those of you who are seeing ads, I'm hoping they're down to 30 seconds. Because 10-second ads, really. All right. because I forgot how, unfortunately, Twitch doesn't give me the ability to shut them off. I wish I could. I really wish I could. I mean, granted, that's one of the benefits of subscribing. So, but since I don't, I mean, anyone who subscribes, I really appreciate it. But yeah, no, I get that, Chris. It does suck. I need to figure out why it's not telling. I thought it's supposed to be telling me when those ad timers are coming up. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Papa Twitch does need his cut, and it's whatever. I would. So the good thing is, by the way, just so you're aware, and I really should get a thing going, because I now have one. All of my videos and streams are now exported to YouTube as soon as I can. And I really realize that I don't have a bot telling you when where the YouTube channel is. So let's do this. There we go. So that you can, if you miss anything, you can watch it afterwards at your leisure. And if you're willing to toss in a subscribe to the YouTube, which doesn't really cost you anything, that's always appreciated. It helps in terms of, one, apparently it's supposed to help in terms of visibility. And I think at 100 subscribers, I'm able to change the URL to be more personalized. Doc Shoulder, Robert, it is good to see you, sir. I could not answer that. Well, Wasteful Days, let me ask you a question. Did you by chance do the overall subscription? I to like Twitch? Because they now have one where you do one subscription and it just, what do you call it? Don't poke the bear. That's all I can say. Count your lucky stars. Yes, I am looking forward to Founders and Legends as well. Can you believe that it is, I'll be there 2 weeks from tomorrow. Well, Wasteful Days, I really appreciate you being here and hanging out with us. So, we had the Castle Keeper's Guide. So I want to move on from the Castle Keeper's Guide, because those are the straight three. Again, Castle Keeper's Guide for the Castle Keeper, completely optional. There's some fun stuff, some alternate things you can add to your game. But again, it is, Player's Handbook and Monsters and Treasures are still, as a Castle Keeper, the two that you really need. The CKG is optional. It's a great book to have. As Jerry Dwarf mentioned, it's really got some useful information, especially if you're new to running games. I highly recommend it. Plus the homage covers for these three books are just fantastic. Yes, I will see you there. Absolutely. In terms of other books, now these are really mostly from a CK standpoint. Here's honestly one of the single most useful books that they've probably come out with since I started collecting Troller Games books. That is the NPC Almanac, The Register. This book has loads and loads of NPCs just by stat blocks. They've got names for them. Some of them are well, with not stat blocks, by different occupations, like blacksmiths, complete with sex, appearance, personality, possible story hook. Are they changing the homage? They're getting rid of the homage covers for the non-OGL content ones? I didn't realize that. Well, in that case, I'm glad I have these. Can't wait to see what the new art is, because the cover art's always they The artwork, I love the artwork in the TLG books. It's one of my favorite parts of it. And as you can see here, they have, oh, and hey, look, they even have stat blocks for them. I have to remind myself that these are meant to be open pages side by side, so they do have stat blocks for each one. These would each correspond to one of the names and things that they say on the other side. Then, including what their treasure is, if they have anything special on them, armors and weapons. But yeah, these are all, these are basically all standard people with different professions. Then they go into class-based NPCs. And let's look at something like, let's look at the knight. So, how many different knights do they have? That's 53. Is it 100 of them? Looks like it. Yep. 100 knight NPCs. Again, complete with a description. Let me get to the top. Description, their primary attributes, secondary attributes, their armor, appearance, personality, a story hook for them, their alignment, levels, what kind of mount they have, kind of backpack, and all their special stuff. And you'll notice that, some of these have treasure with them. So, if you're looking to have NPCs as, your either your bad guys, or even just going with the characters and, something should happen to the NPC, it's been, NPC's been known to die along the way. Western Years is the first thing, people want to take their stuff. So what stuff do they have on them? Well, each of these come with one. But it is a real, for a castle keeper who likes to do stuff, kind of on the fly, and you don't always know what the player, especially if you're doing a bit sandboxing, you don't always know what your players are going to do next, and you need to introduce a character, or they go looking for something specific. The NPC Almanac, the Register, has you covered. Now, the second NPC Almanac takes a different approach. These are more fully fleshed out NPCs. You've got some villains. Where is it? Aubrey Fowler and the Minstrels. I love this particular one. Nary a more despicable group has walked the world. Aubrey Fowler and the Minstrels are a bane and scourge to all. This group of murderous, abjectly cruel, and nefarious band of mercenaries, thieves, brigands, and assassins travel from city to city or country to country, leaving a bloody wreck in their wake. These are the ultimate opportunists who rob when they can, steal what they want, and pillage what they care to. There is little rhyme or reason to what Aubrey Fowler and the Minstrels do to make coin or enjoy themselves, from the grandiose, such as raiding mansions and dungeons, to the mundane, like highway robbery and petty theft. There's more to the description, but it then proceeds to go into all the details about each of the characters in the group, including, their personalities, a bit of their background, the way they do things, their descriptions, their stat block, all kinds of great stuff. And there is a lot How many pages are there in this thing? That is 200, 200, close to 300 pages worth of detailed descriptions of NPCs that are really ready-made to be thrown into a campaign. Fully fleshed out. Unlike the archive, which is good for quick and dirty, these are really something that you can go and grab and build entire adventures around. It's truly fantastic. I mean, these two books are, when they came out, they were probably the first things since the original books that came out that I considered absolutely, as a castle keeper, must have. Had to have them. Wasn't even a doubt. But yeah, so if you're a castle keeper and you're looking for really useful content for your game, especially if the idea of having to make NPCs drives you a bit bonkers, both of these books are fantastic. Both will help you in different ways. I truly, highly recommend them. Really, honestly, from the perspective of a castle keeper, the only thing I would suggest is when you look at the register, the one that has the quick and dirty stats and descriptions for them, you may want to make sure that the treasure that is on them is appropriate for your campaign. It's not like that they have really crazy treasure, but some of them can have a lot of it, and you want to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. That's completely, I'm not saying take away all the treasure. You may want to consider adjusting some of them. But other than that, I mean, again, either way, it's fantastic. They're both fantastic resources. Another book that you really want to consider. This one is, again, as a you do like your players being broke. I've got feelings on that. Being broke as a player, being perpetually broke as a character is not fun. Is not really all that fun to me. I like the idea of characters getting gold and spending it. If the idea is the characters are basically spending the gold as quickly as they're coming in a way that helps them, that's why you have so nice. So this is one of those books where it's a great book. However, it is going to be replaced with something new. Those of you who've been following the CNC Kickstarters know about the Codex Infernum and Codex Exaltum that are coming out. Well, this is basically, the Codex Infernum is pretty much going to be replacing this particular beauty, which is filled with all kinds of demons, devils, and those of you from the old D&D game days, or AD&D games, daemons. Never really completely understood what the difference between the daemons and devils were, but whatever. As well as a lot of undead. So, this is a really, really cool. There's a lot of the greater demons and devils are here. It tends to be skew more towards the mid to higher level games that this is appropriate for. There is some. Is that what they were? They were the neutral evil ones? Okay. That would make sense. I had completely forgotten, because I honestly don't know that I ever used any of them. I always went either pure demon or devils being lawful evil and demons being chaotic evil. That would make sense. And honestly, that probably should have come to me. It's been a while. But yeah, the slots, slots are good. They make for a good villain. But like again, Tome of the Unclean, a lot of the bigger name demons and devils are in here. And of course, artwork is, always love the artwork. I am waiting for the Codex Infernum and Codex Exaltum to come out. That's going to be, that will be waiting to see what those look like when they finally arrive. But until then, if you need some, if you have an urge for running demons and devils in a pinch, this is the place to go. And while there are other books, there's only one other real one that I recommend, and this one I recommend with a little bit of trepidation. And that's the Adventurer's Backpack. So I love the backpacks, the actual backpacks that they have in here for character usage. Obviously, that's not enough to make a full-fledged book out of. It'd be closer to a 20-page softcover thing if that's all it was. I like what they include in the backpacks. I've been told that from people that I trust that if you're somebody who's stickler for encumbrance and stuff, I would it's funny, Chris, because for me, are they still selling the backpack cards? I haven't checked the store lately, because I would almost buy the cards instead of the book. Well, the Adventure Spellbook, I didn't include the Adventure Spellbook for the same reason that I didn't do the Player's Archive. The Adventure Spellbook it's cool, but because of the fact that it uses spells from various sources that could be a little bit out of, that don't necessarily correspond to the same kind of power levels. Like some of the elemental spells from I believe it's the Jim Ward Elemental Spells supplement that they used to have and is now out of print, could get to be a little out there. It's not a bad book to have. The Adventure Spellbook is, I'm not saying it's a bad book to have just because it helps put everything in one place. But I can be a little, I didn't consider it a really must-have. The Adventurer's Spellbook, the Adventurer's Backpack, on the other hand, this is, and it's true. Of course, the biggest problem is once you let something in, once you let a book in, then, the CK can end up creating a whole lot of work for themselves. And you need to kind of like go through and be proactive about which spells that they're going to disallow. Where the Adventurer's Backpack is concerned, like the cards, I'd almost do the cards and forget the book, because the cards concentrate on the backpacks themselves, which again, I think are really cool. The encumbrance values can be a little wonky from what I've been told. I haven't done a hard check on those, but the people who have told me, I trust them. I'm not a hardcore encumbrance person. I'm more of the, let's put it this way, if I start worrying about it when, it starts getting stupid. When you're trying to lug around, 6,000 gold coins and, 10 different weapons and stuff, and a couple crates of jewels, and suddenly, you're just carrying that around with no additional help. Yeah, then we're going to start looking at that. As far as the classes, I like some of the classes. Some of the classes I think could be fine with maybe a slight adjustment. I've first of all, they have the old school thief in here, which really the difference between the thief and the rogue is so minimal as to be almost pointless having a different, being different between them. I think the whole thing surrounds really on their ability to read magic stuff. The archer, I think, is mostly okay. I know there's some complaint about it. The initiative bonus to me is not a big deal because it's only the first time, at the start of combat. And that's only if they remember to say that they've had an arrow knocked. So it's basically, they'll end up getting the most often, probably getting the first shot, but I don't think that's the biggest of deals. I kind of like the idea of basically having an archery specialist. It is kind of wonky. And again, I mean, I get why they went with strength for the ranger, but at the same time, none of the ranger skills use strength, so that I find that even more wonky. At least the archer has intelligence, has a skill that corresponds to it, being able to make their own arrows. Should it probably be dexterity? Probably should be. Oh, and they also have incapacitate, so they technically have two skills that actually use that primary attribute. So, I haven't looked to see whether or not their damage output, whether the complaint is whether their damage output is high, too high for comparatively speaking. But I also consider them to be, a little bit of a one-trick pony. They're very good with the bow and arrow, or with some kind of ranged weapon. Whether bow and arrow, I think they can also, could also be a crossbow specialist. The Primal Druid, I think, is an interesting character. The one thing I am not a big fan of, I haven't gotten to see it really in play yet, so I'm not entirely sure, is the spell dominance. That's the skill that I have not. I have somebody playing a Primal Druid. They have not gotten to the level where spell dominance is a thing yet, so I'm not sure how well that's going to work. We'll see. But I kind of like the idea of the druid that, it's not a tree hugger. It's the person telling you, do not hug that tree. That tree is going to try to kill you. It's a different take on it. Whether it's enough to make it a different class from the druid is another matter altogether. One can make an argument that, that's more flavor than it is rule set, but what the heck. I find the Scald interesting. Mostly because, I like the idea of the Scald. Again, it's one of those things where I've only started recently having somebody play one, so I have not gotten to see firsthand what happens as the character levels and whether it gets out of control in any sense. In terms of character classes I do not like. Let's talk about the Divine Knight. I don't know who thought the idea of having a character class that are a physical manifestation of a deity and have a specific purpose to undertake. We call those avatars. And unless you're playing unless you're playing a campaign, this would be the kind of thing that'd be great for a campaign where you're playing a one-on-one campaign. One player, somebody running the game and somebody playing the game. You want to play a one-on-one campaign? That's great. But I can't see a campaign that works where you have a Divine Knight in the campaign, and the campaign doesn't focus on the Divine Knight. Everything else kind of becomes, subject to the Divine Knight story, and I don't think it works. Not in a cooperative TTRPG. Maybe some people don't take it as, quite as literal. It just does not seem to be, it just does not seem to work for me at all. The Warrior Priest is kind of interesting. That one is another one. Again, I've had somebody play it, but not high enough level to figure out, at what point it starts breaking down. But it's a slight variation. It looks like it could be some fun. Rune marks are one that, is it casting higher level spells? I'd have to take, again, that's something I'd probably notice at the time. Rune marks are an interesting one. It's one of those things where, I don't have a particular, have a particular objection to the rune mark as a class. I know that there are issues with the fact that the runes don't really have levels, so you need to be careful as to what runes you're giving out, because of, they can get out of hand really quick. The bigger problem with the rune mark is if you're not used to it, you need to be making sure that you have support for the rune mark class in the game. I've thought about doing a variation where rune marks are a character class, but I might make it in my campaign where it's limited to dwarves, because I think it's very thematic. I've considered adding some character classes that are specific to different races. Not race as a class, they would still have their character race, but there might be a class that is open only to them. Like one that Lord Gazumba uses, and for his campaign that I'm also thinking of using, and that's the Halfling Guardian class, where it's something specifically for halflings. I think it comes from one of the Dragon magazines. I'm thinking of importing it into C&C. I need to take a look at it and figure out what I would need to do. But yeah, rune mark is something I've considered making it a dwarven thing, only because I like the idea, especially since I play in a World of Greyhawk, it feels very on brand for it to be a dwarven thing. One interesting class that I found and I kind of like the Pacer. It requires the Pacer. The only real issue I have with the Pacer, and part of it is the fact that it almost feels like a variation on the Rogue. And I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if a Pacer can be really, really cool class for a specific type of game. If you're running a game especially a game that like is city based, or is a game, with a lot of political intrigue, the Pacer, I think, can be a very, very cool class. For a game that is more focused on dungeon crawls and the like, I don't think it works nearly as well. I mean, they're still, they're still pretty good, but you're losing a lot of what makes the Pacer interesting for that kind of game. So, this is one that, depending on what kind of game I'm running, I might consider. All right. Anyone else have another supplement that they really like that I did not mention here? We talked a bit about the Adventure Spellbook. Now, obviously, if you're running your game in Aird, in the world of Aird, the codex and the various codex supplements for the different areas are an absolute fantastic resource. There is the Old Player's Guide to Aird, which includes some new classes and such, including some of the racist class stuff. Then there's the new supplements that came out with the reprint of the Codex of Erd. All the various adventures. I mean, there's so many very good adventures. Actually, and somebody mentioned a white box before. I have not yet. I've opened the white box. I have not actually looked through the content of the white box. But for quick and dirty, it's a great way to get started. If you're looking for an adventure, a lot of people have talked about Shadows of the Halfling Hall as a great first adventure to run. There is the starter kit, which I believe has the Wizard's Tower as an adventure. I haven't actually looked through it because for me, if I'm teaching people to play CNC the first time and I want to use a published adventure, my favorite is going to be Shadows of Green Sky. It actually has guidance in there for the CK for introducing the players to it. It has two pretty cool encounters in it, and it has lots of details in order to help get a CK used to running the game and introducing it to players. I think it's probably one of the best introductory adventures I've seen. Anyone else has any other thoughts? I'd love to discuss them. Otherwise, we're gonna look to raid. I've got friends of mine who are running. They're doing a February 29th. They basically a leap year game. I forgot what game they're playing. Probably should have checked that out, but I know they mentioned it and I completely forgot because it's been that kind of day. Alrighty. I want to thank everyone for coming in. Let's do this. First, we need to do the raffle. If you have not yet, exclamation mark ticket to enter the raffle. We have a $10 Trollord Games PDF giveaway. Right now, we have 7 entries, so your odds are good. I will be closing the raffle in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we got a couple less people there. Excellent. All right. Anyone else? There we go. Fantastic. All right. I am closing the giveaway and drawing a winner. All right, Brack Oren. Fantastic. Brack, are you in Discord? Actually, are you still here? That's a good question. I don't know if he's still here. All right, on the odd chance that I don't have a way to get in touch with him, winners must be present when chosen. So, if he's not back, I'm going to draw another winner just in case he's not back by the time we raid. So, Torlock, are you here? I am not seeing Torlock in the chat either. Oh, people with chances of winning are getting better and better all the time. All right, let's do this. Jingo! All right. That one I can do. All right, that's fine. So let's do this. Once again, thank you everyone for hanging out. Thank you for the talk, sharing your thoughts on the various classes, various source books. And next week, we're going to be taking a look at optimizing your character for roleplay. As a matter of fact, Jingo, you did. You're the first person of the 3 to actually come back before the raid. So I will get with you outside of Twitch and send you the part. So if everyone could hang out for the raid, we got 18 people going in, and put the stream ending on. See you all on the flip side.